When you use a Sawzall on metal, never go full speed. You'll burn up the blade real quick. Go slow, about half speed or 1/3 speed. And keep it wet. Got to clean out that bore completely. Got to do the same thing over here on the brake, on the pins, the anchor pins. And don't worry if you cut into this metal just a little bit, but you will be in trouble if you cut all the way through it. If you don't trust yourself, you probably better be cutting upwards. So you cut into this instead of weakening the outside of this. I took the side of my scraper and went around in there pretty well. There was a little burr down here. I caught that with a round file. And now I'm taking some brake cleaner and wiping out the inside pretty good because it does have some grease in it. It's dry and caked, and it's just going to clog up the file, and we got to clean it with a file and sandpaper. But if you clean the grease off of it, the dry caked on grease with brake cleaner, it's not as bad about clogging up the sandpaper in the file. Now I'm not trying to cut metal unless I have a burr. I'm just trying to cut rust. You got to keep your file, a round file has to be perfectly straight inside the hole. You can't be at an angle or you won't be hitting the bottom. You'll just be cutting the edges. I got to go all the way around like that and take my sandpaper. And I want to see shiny metal all the way around when I'm finished. Little pits, little places that you didn't quite get are probably just fine, not going to be a problem. Save your old bushing, you're going to need that to help drive this new one in. This little spot right here, that's the hole my grease is supposed to come in. The grease fitting's right behind it. I'm going to take that off. Got the grease fitting out. Now I go ahead and pick this dry, dead grease out of there. In my case, ouch, I just bumped my head. Not used to working on a trailer where there's always something right over my head. In my case, since this thing is rusted so bad, on the other side when I did those cams over there, I was having a hard time getting the cam to go in tight enough with the proper spacers that come with the bushing kit to get the C-clip on. So I'm grinding all this surface rust off of this on both sides because I got a spacer that goes here and I got one on this side, and can't get the C-clip in with all that rust built up out there. I did it with a file over there on that side. I did it with a file, but I got a grinder here because I did those across the street out in the gravel parking lot. I'm in front of the shop now on the concrete. I got electric and air and everything else here. Now I'm getting ready to put the bushing in. I can get this thing in the camera there. I put this on the corner of the grinding wheel and ground a little notch in it on the grease hole. And that is just in case I miss that hole a little bit. If this thing turns, because this hole has to line up with that grease hole in there that I cleaned out. And if I miss, then I don't want to either restrict or completely block off the grease from getting in there. So the depth I can change. I can go back out or come back in a little bit, but if I'm just not right on target with that when it gets in there, well, it doesn't have to be. It'll go through that groove and into the hole. But I'm still going to take a little bit of grease. I got some here. I'm just using this marine bearing grease for boat trailers. It's a lithium water resistant grease. I'll wipe that, just a thin coat of that in there a little bit, just to put a little bit on here too. I can't see what the camera's getting right now. Sorry about that, but so I'm going to line this hole up as best as I can. I know my head's in the way. And then I'm going to come over here and look down on top of it and make sure I'm square. I can tap this in a little bit. Normally they don't go in quite that easy. That's why I got the camshaft out here. I got the cam out here and the old bushing. And what I normally do is put that bushing on there, feed the old cam right through the old bushing on the inside, and put it in like that. It still has a little ways to go because it's got to have room for the seals. But since this one's going in pretty easy. I can just tap on it with this. Got to have the same amount of space outside of the bushing on both sides. Doesn't have to be perfect, exact, but you try to get close. And we put two seals on. The seal on this side has the rounded side out. It's like most seals go in. Good place for the bushing in the camshaft. That may not be the best idea because this is pretty sharp right here, this groove for the C-clip, and that can cut your seal. And this seal goes on in the same exact position on this side. And the reason why is you don't put this one on like that because you don't want to lock the grease inside here too tight and then push the seals out of their seat. You want this seal here to keep the grease from coming out here onto your brakes, and when you put your grease in, you want it to be able to, the lip on the seal is facing outside so that the extra grease will come out of the lip instead of being locked in there and push your seals off. I'm just going to carefully use my old bushing as a seal driver. Sorry I can't do this part on camera. Although I could figure out a way to get it on camera, but I got to get the job done, go back to work. When cleaning this bore for the brake anchors, I really like having a file and some pieces of 220 sandpaper or 180 or something of that nature. You have to get that out of there because those new ones, those new bushings, I don't have one in my hand, but it's got a slit in it like this cam bushing. I cut that slit in there with the Sawzall to get it out, but the new ones have a slit in there and it will compress. If you don't get all that rust out of there, that slit will compress and that bushing will be really tight and you'll have trouble getting your anchors in there and they won't turn. So you really need to be cutting this stuff. I got an air hose here and I'm blowing the dust off of this file, and then I go in there again and it's coming out dark brown. Well, I'm not cutting metal because when you cut cast iron, it doesn't come out dark brown. It comes out, you know, shiny little slivers of silver, and that's not what I'm getting. I'm getting dark brown, so I'm still cutting rust out of there. See that? That's brown. It won't hurt if these are a little bit loose. They won't go anywhere. The brake shoes won't let them come out if they were too loose. The cam, you don't want that loose because the grease port might end up not where it's supposed to be if it turns in there, but these it doesn't matter. But you don't want these too tight either. And they will be too tight if you don't get that rust out of there. So I'm going to keep working on it till it's clean. I gave up on cleaning this out 100%. I got about an hour in cleaning it out, and it's getting too long, or at least it feels like an hour. I could. Now I took one of these bushings like this, and I started it in there, and I see the gap on the bottom is closing as I get in there, so it is going to be a little tight, but this still goes in there all the way, so we're still loose enough. But I tapped on it, and I kept watching to make sure I'm going in square, and it's still going in, but I don't want to start mushrooming the outer edge of it. Now this is what I use to press bushings in on leaf springs. This is just a large bolt, like a 3/4 bolt, but I also have threaded rods and a bunch of washers. Now, this particular one is a bolt. I can put I can put this thing on here. It's not where I wanted it. I just need this for a spacer. Needs a little grease on it. Okay, got those in.